Hey everybody, Lord Tamerlane back with more Obscurities in miniature. Today we're going to look at the Domadores de Cadaveres. Cadaveres? Cadaveres, I don't know. I'm not saying it right. But these are the cool Dia de los Muertos models that come from the guild, which is kind of surprising because it's based on how they look. I mean, it makes me think Arcanists, but whatever. Or Rezzers, but nope, they're guild. Why they're guild? I don't know. I'm assuming they're in Broken Promises, and it's one of the few books that I do not own as we wait for 3rd edition to roll on out. Now, I'm really interested in these candles on top of his hat. Are they going to be separate pieces? Because that seems like a very Malifaux thing to do, doesn't it? To have all of those candles be individual parts. I actually don't know. They look like they were going to be a fun challenge to paint, though. Especially with all the black and gold on the male dancer. So... okay, bases that are just thrown in blindly. I like the pose. Oh, no, wow. I don't have to glue any of his candles on. Check that out. That is surprising, especially when they're in focus. This long coat is actually part of his. That's kind of surprising. So he's kind of dressed like a bullfighter, the male. What is it called? The Domadores? My Spanish sucks. He doesn't look too complicated. You can see his skull face right here. Maybe that's the male. That must be the female, and this is the male one? I'm not sure. She's got a lot more parts going. No? Okay, there's 2 heads. Oh, okay. I'm just rambling to myself. Okay, here's what's going on. This is his hand holding the skull. There is his head. That goes in the hat, and this is the old lady who swallowed a fly. No. Okay, but our female counterpart really does have a lot more parts going on there, but that's going to be kind of fun. I like building these Malifaux figures. I can't help myself. It doesn't matter how fragile, thin, or minuscule the parts are. I just keep putting myself through the motions. I kind of hope 3rd edition continues on, maybe with a little less tiny parts. Maybe. Maybe, just maybe, but I you know, if you've seen enough of my videos, I really do enjoy Wyrd's models. They're a lot of fun, and I really like the time and place and era and style of the game. So, nice leggy model, just like the old 1.5 ones. Kind of a nice little throwback there. They could have had him short and stocky like a lot of the more modern ones, but nope. He is nice and angular, and just that cape is crazy. I love that thing. All right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to start building, and let's see how these guys look. All right, we got our flamenco-y Domadores de Cadaveres finished up here. We'll start with our male one. I really like this guy. I really like his crazy, exaggerated, lanky limbs. He does actually have a face underneath the shadows there. I was a bit disappointed that I didn't have to glue on all of those candles individually. Very Hamlet-like pose, dressed like a matador. Should be a fun one to paint. And he's quite tall. I mean, he's quite tall, at least compared to a GW figure. But when placed with some of the other Malifaux stuff, you know, he's a little bit more in line. Honestly, with the way he's dressed, with what he's presenting, and just with his getup, I think outside of Malifaux, you probably could find a lot of use for him as some kind of a Necromancer or just undead champion of some sort, spellcaster. Hell, use him in Frostgrave. You know, he'd make a great Necromancer there. It's just a really cool looking figure. You don't see matadors on the tabletop very often outside, especially in, you know, a game like Malifaux. So very interesting. I kind of would like to look at the Broken Promises book just to see what's up with them and what they're all about. And then we have the female one. Now, I did a terrible job gluing her because her face was a separate piece, and naturally I just had big globs of glue. But she has a very unique and interesting sculpt. I mean, it's something that we don't see present on the tabletop very often, doing a kind of traditional flamenco, it looks like, the way she's playing with the skirts there. Getting her hand to line up with the skirt was kind of a hassle, and getting the skirt to all line up with itself and the multiple layers of the skirt, but you know what, I figure once it's all painted, it won't really be that big a deal. Also, her hair did not want to line up the way it was presented on the renders on the box, so the way it was presented was it was actually kind of wrapped around her arm. I just could not get that. Maybe I'm just thick-headed and my big giant potato fingers couldn't handle it. That's possible. But you know what? It works. If I hadn't mentioned it, you probably wouldn't have known any better. And obviously, I do need to clean up quite a bit of little excess scar lines from where I was clipping things off. But that's not a big deal. You can see the little rose right here out of focus by her skull and her hand. And again, just like her male counterpart, I feel like you could get a lot of mileage with these models in just about any kind of skirmish, fantasy-inspired, you know, near modern, near future steampunk, something like that. They can probably get a lot of mileage, I believe. And especially her, if you paint her up more traditionally, sure, you could probably get her into some kind of a Weird West games as well. Well, obviously the whole line, really, but he's just cool. He's just cool with his flashy cape that just drapes off of him like that, and his just exaggerated posture. And even her dancing pose is pretty interesting. It's not something we see very often. She is a little bit shorter. I haven't glued her because obviously I got to get to all those skirts underneath. But that doesn't seem like it's going to be too much of a problem in the end. So interesting figures, and I feel like they kind of just got glossed over with the latest slew of news on 3rd edition coming. A lot of these late 2nd edition models just seem to have been glossed over and ignored for the most part, which is a shame because it just, especially from a model building standpoint, there's a lot of cool stuff there. So I urge you to check some of these models out, especially if you're finding them at the clearance prices I've seen them at, because at that point, you know, it's just kind of a fun side project to do, and we know we all need a million other side projects, don't we? So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to actually get to these guys, and they're not going to end up in one of those piles of shame somewhere, and hopefully they will be back soon in a painted form. That said, this is Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities in Miniature saying thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this somewhat helpful. And if you didn't, well, then I don't know what to say. Check out some of the other videos because maybe you'll find those more helpful then, because there's like a million of them at this point. I'll see you all later, though. Bye-bye.